In today's class, let us understand about the phenomenon of photosynthesis which is taking place in higher plants. The phenomenon of photosynthesis of common occurrence even in the microbes which contain the coloring pigment, namely the chlorophyll. Chlorophyll in fact is the green coloring pigment. Apart from chlorophyll, the higher plants will also be having other associated pigments in the form of phycobilins. Phycobilins are recognized to be of two types, namely phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. Phycoerythrin is a red coloring pigment and phycocyanin is a blue coloring pigment. Apart from this, we will also be finding carotenoids, other coloring pigments, then xanthophyll. So, apart from chlorophyll, there are many other coloring pigments, namely phycoerythrin, phycocyanin, carotenoids and xanthophyll. But for the process of photosynthesis to occur, it is important that the chlorophyll should be present in the organisms. So, in chlorophyll also, when we discuss about this or when we take a deep understanding about chlorophyll, we come to know that more than 7 types of chlorophyll are there among all the organisms that are being known to us. Of them, the chief type of chlorophyll recognized are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. This chlorophyll A is the one which is called as the primary pigment. Chlorophyll A is the one which is called by the name as primary pigment because it is only this chlorophyll which is having the ability just not only trap the sunlight but also convert the trapped sunlight energy into chemical energy. So therefore, this chlorophyll A is recognized as the primary pigment. Apart from that, all other pigments that we discuss now are all referred by the name as accessory pigments. All of this are together called by the name as accessory pigments. Means, even if they are not present, the photosynthesis phenomenon can take place. In case even if they are present, they will help in trapping only the light energy from the sun and they do not have the ability to convert the trapped light energy into chemical energy. That can be done only from chlorophyll A, as I said to you previously. Now, where is this chlorophyll A present in the plants? Of course, in the leaves, and in the leaves we do find what are called as the mesophyll cells, and in the mesophyll cells, each cell would be containing a plastic which will store this chlorophyll, and that is what is referred by the name as chloroplast. Here I have written the diagram of the ultrastructure of a chloroplast. Let us understand the structure of chloroplast first so that later on this structure will help us. Having a knowledge about the structure will help us to understand the phenomenon of photosynthesis better. Now, what is photosynthesis? As we all know, photosynthesis is the process of manufacturing of food in the form of glucose by the green plants in the presence of sunlight utilizing chlorophyll and carbon dioxide and water. So these are all the essential commodities. I repeat, presence of sunlight, presence of chlorophyll, and utilization of carbon dioxide along with water. So all of them combined, then they will yield us what is called the food in the form of glucose, which is a carbohydrate, along with the release of water and oxygen in the process. Well, so photosynthesis is a phenomenon of manufacturing of the food by the green plants, utilizing sunlight, carbon dioxide and water with chlorophyll. Now, let us take a look at the structure of the chloroplast. This is how the scientists have identified about the structure of chloroplast, as has been under an electron microscope. So therefore it is named as ultrastructure of chloroplast. Now let us take a deeper look at the structure. The chloroplast is a discoidal structure. As you can see, it's a discoidal structure and it is a two-membrane structure. It is having double membrane. It's two-membrane structure, namely the outer membrane and the inner membrane. The outer membrane and the inner membrane. And in between the two membranes, there is presence of space, and this space is called periplastidal space. The space between the outer and the inner membrane is called periplastidal space, usually filled with periplastidal fluid. Now, how is the nature of this outer membrane? Outer membrane is known to be a permeable membrane. What do we mean by a permeable membrane? It means it will allow anything and everything to pass through it. Any membrane which will allow all the contents to pass through it, irrespective whether it is a solute or a solvent, is said to be a permeable membrane. Then the inner membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. What do we mean by semi-permeable membrane? It will allow only certain particles to pass through it, and it will check the flow of certain other particles from passing through it. So such a membrane is referred by the name as semi-permeable membrane. Usually they allow all the solvents to pass through them, and they will check the entry of the solutes. If there are proteins to carry them, these solutes, then that will be allowed. So therefore inner membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. Now as we enter into the inner side of the inner membrane, it is filled with matrix. It's filled with matrix, and the matrix is granular. And the matrix of the chloroplast is referred by the name as stroma. The matrix of the chloroplast is referred by the name as stroma. Photosynthesis phenomenon is recognized or studied under two headings. Is recognized to be taking place in two phases or two headings. One is called the light reaction, which occurs in the presence of sunlight, and one more is called as the dark reaction, which will occur during night time. So therefore, the stroma or the matrix of the chloroplast is the site of dark reaction. It is the site of dark reaction. Means dark reaction will occur. That means the reaction during the night will take place in the stroma of the chloroplast. Then there are stacks of contents which have been placed here and there in the stroma, which is referred by the name as grana. Which is referred by the name as grana. And it is in this grana the light reaction takes place. So grana is the site of light reaction. Grana is the site of light reaction. Now, the individual units of grana are called the thylakoids. Individual unit are called by the name as thylakoids. These thylakoids are the functional units of the chloroplast. They are the functional units of the chloroplast. It is in these thylakoids we find the presence of including the chlorophyll, and it is in this place the trapping of the sunlight actually takes place. Then if you take a closer look at this structure, we see that each grana is connected to one another. They are not separate. They are being connected. They are having links. And these connecting links of the grana are referred by the name as lamellae. And because it's present in the stroma, they are also called by the name as stroma lamellae. They are also referred by the name as stroma lamellae, or else also called by the name as fret channels. Also called by the name as fret channels. They are having biphospholipid layer. They are having biphospholipid layer. So this stroma will be containing all the necessary enzymes required for undergoing the dark reaction. And take a closer look at the chloroplast. It will reveal us that chloroplast is containing DNA. This presence of DNA here is circular and often referred by the name as chloroplast DNA or ctDNA. Due to the presence of the DNA here separately apart from the nucleus, these cell organelles are referred by the name as semi-autonomous cell organelles. They are referred by the name as semi-autonomous cell organelles. Then here and there we find the presence of the ribosomes. Not just simply the ribosomes, they will be containing the RNA, different types of RNA, namely the tRNA, mRNA, rRNA, and all the enzymes which are required for undergoing the process of photosynthesis like rubisco and etc. Here and there again we find the presence of what are called as the starch granules or the starch grains. Here and there in the chloroplast we find the presence of the starch grain or the starch granules. Now, what happens during light reaction? During light reaction, the contents will be made ready in the thylakoids. What would be made ready in the thylakoids? Energy would be made ready in the thylakoids by using sunlight, and that sunlight is converted into chemical energy, and energy rich molecules, namely ATP would be synthesized and NADPH2 would be synthesized. What is this ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. What is this NADPH2? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate hydrogen. So these are the energy rich molecules. Only if this energy rich molecules have been synthesized, this energy rich molecules is later on utilized for the process of manufacturing of glucose, which actually takes place in the dark reaction. The details of both light and dark reactions have been variously worked out by different scientists, and the light reaction is often referred by the name as Hill's reaction, and dark reaction is understood by Kelvin's cycle, which will take it up in the next video session. Now, hope you have understood the ultra structure of chloroplast.